See, this is why I started off doing all of this. It's to share music, to let you guys know about new music that I love, and to hear what you guys are hearing and letting me know about that so that I can enjoy it. And nothing has really struck me harder than the Deer Hunter. I have to give a really big shout out to all the Worlds of Stage. You definitely have given me a long list of things that I need to check out, and you gave me Deer Hunter, and I can't thank you enough for that. So let's dive into their 2015 release, Act 4, Rebirth in Reprise. Hello, I'm Notes. Now before I dive into all of this, I had never heard of this band before, and I am so glad that I do now. A little bit of background about the Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter was originally a side project from the lead guitarist and vocalist of Casey Crescenzo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That post-hardcore band receiving the end of Sirens. Now that's kind of a mouthful there. Now, as I said before, this is my first real taste of the Deer Hunter, and I haven't really heard too much of their other works, but this is the first one that I've really dived deep into, and I am very, very surprised of just how good this album is. And while I'm listening to it, the main thought that kept coming to my mind is just how modern this is. And unlike while I was listening to Coheed and Cambria, where I thought that their music was very modern and very in the moment, with these guys it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but rather a good thing. They always had one foot firmly in the present, using a lot of the influences that have came before. I was listening to a lot of their songs and I was thinking, oh, this sounds a lot like, say, a Mumford & Son movement, or even a Coldplay movement, but not necessarily in a bad sense, but more in a good sense, like taking those aspects that I really loved about these bands and providing it in a new light. And the album covers the whole gamut of emotions, going from very melodic, very melodramatic, and very soothing aspects in songs such as Remembered or The Bittersweet Six, while also just being very in-your-face and bombastic, relentless even at times. And this is definitely felt on Night of a Town, one of my favorite songs on this album, as well as King Swords Reversed. And also, along the same lines, they're incorporating sounds and musics and just instruments from all over the place. Everything from brass to strings, and there's even an oboe from time to time. But unlike other albums that have used this and it almost felt gimmicky, this feels very in place. This feels like it was very thought out and it was used perfectly in that moment. The whole thing comes together very, very well. And this also includes the concept of the album. And I love how the story progresses and how the music mirrors perfectly the concept overall. So many times I have talked about how a band's concept overshadows the music and it takes away the enjoyment. This is the exact opposite. This is where that concept brightens the music around it. It adds that extra flavor that is needed for the music itself. The music and the concept are working in tandem and it works so well on this album. I have to talk about how well it is structured. It has a perfect 4-act part. And if you know a lot of my musics, I love having either a middle point or at least some kind of an act all the way through. And I love how this album is divided perfectly into that 4-act structure. So talking about the specifics and the songs that I loved on this album, you can't really talk about this album without at least diving a little bit into Night on the Town. I love where this song goes, and it is a perfect example of everything that I loved about this album. It almost has like a 1930s jazz kind of going on in the background, and there's a part in that where I was talking about Mumford & Sons, where that middle part, it really felt like that, where the vocals are harmonizing very well with the overall music that's being presented. And also, I really, really love the King's Swords Reversed. It's definitely more of like a dancing track. Like, I almost want to get up and dance around when I hear this. You know, for the most part I always kind of shy away from those tunes, but because of the energy and the upbeat and just how optimistic and up-tempo it is, I can't help but love it.
I never wanted my name up in bright lights, but I think that I might be there soon. I owe it all to you.
my favorite songs definitely has to be the next song, If All Goes Well. And this is almost a perfect example of one of the reasons why I love this album. It's very accessible, where the first half of this song you can almost hear on any kind of like alternative or indie rock station. But then right about that halfway mark, we get that tone shift, and it is so perfect, and I love just how large the sound is. Give me a good arpeggio and I am in my glory, and those are just flying all over the place, and it's very great in stereo, where it's just brrr, brrr. That is what I love about music. It's that wholeness of sound that is going on here. It's so big, it's really hard not to get jazzed about it.
Brilliance, born by your resilience. Love us all in spite of what we'll do to
So I've gushed about this album so far, but it isn't a perfect album. It's a flawless album, but the album isn't perfect, and the only letdown I have is the ending. The ending just kind of leaves off. Once I go past If All Goes Well, the remaining 3 songs, although good, they're just not quite as the same caliber that I came to expect with the preceding songs on here. So overall, I have to say, you have to pick up this album. Do it now. If you can find it on vinyl, definitely do so. It is made perfectly for vinyl pressing. Pick it up because it is a well worthwhile investment. And that's my take on the Deer Hunters Act 4 Rebirth in Reprise. What did you guys think about it? Have you heard about it? If you have, let me know what your thoughts were down below. And also, we're coming into the final weeks of 2015, so while we're gearing up for that, let me know what your favorite albums were of this year. Put them down below, because I know I'm going to be doing my own top 10 within the new year, so look out for that. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, comment below. I always love to hear new suggestions. I've got a couple that I'm going to look into. And that's about it. Alright, notes out.